Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, peace be upon all of you. So one of the difficult things about being Muslim and living in the West is that it's typically the case that the only way being Muslim or Islam or a Muslim identity comes up in a natural way in our discourse with the non-Muslims is when there is some sort of conflict. Now, a lot of times that is a grand, the context of a grand geopolitical conflict like has gone on this year. And you'll get questions like, well, what do you think about Palestine? Or what do you think about Afghanistan? And this type of thing. But maybe more often than that, it's actually on micro level things. Like if you're invited to an office Christmas party and someone asks you if you're going, and you might you don't intend to go because Islamically you're not supposed to, but you might just tell them you're busy. You're not going because you're busy that day because you want to avoid the conflict, or maybe even capitulate and go. And I'm not judging anyone for doing that, but these types of things go on. So the way to start dealing with these things is, number one, when these conversations come up and these points of conflict come up, is, number one, start pointing out this phenomenon to the non-Muslims. So if you're asked about a geopolitical conflict and someone says, well, what do you think about Afghanistan? You can say, and of course, remember, manners mean everything, and the way you say something is always more important than what you say. And you want to reduce the tension in your body when before you start talking, like I've talked about before, and even try to smile, because smiling is part of the religion, and it's it puts people at ease. Smile naturally, inshallah. And you can say, if someone asks you, well, what do you think about Afghanistan? You can say, well, the funny thing is, like, being Muslim and living here, being Muslim and Islam it's part of our everyday life and something you carry with you all the time and the life you live in. But, it's usually the case that the only times that we get to bring it up with people is when there's some sort of conflict. And that's something that's really hard for us. And it makes it hard for us to get people to understand Muslims very well. Another thing about that type of language too, like, I think, I'm using the word us, which is first person, but using the first person plural and speaking about Muslims in a third person way, that depersonalizes what you're saying a little bit, instead of saying I, which how you prefer to talk, you can prefer to talk. But sometimes there's a benefit in these tense, more conflictual types of conversations to depersonalizing the language that you use a little bit, because that offsets the person a little bit. And when you start to bring this up, a worry you might have is that they're going to feel like they offended you and you don't want them to feel bad, or that type of thing. That's why the manners are very important. Now, usually the type of person who asks this type of question, they're usually inquisitive people. And they have some sort of care about you, whether they're asking about the geopolitical conflict or the Christmas party or the clothing, which, of course, sisters deal with way more than brothers do, and probably deal with this type of thing more than we do in general. But, they have some sort of interest in you, just in that they're bringing it up. So a lot of times, this might prompt some healthy concern in them and a genuine interest to know more. So when they probe deeper, you can say, I appreciate your interest. I appreciate your interest. But talking about these things, it's honestly a lot to talk about. So, really we want people to learn about what it means to be Muslim, and we want people to learn about Islam in a way that's constructive, in a way that's comprehensive and well put together. And me, a lot of times I feel like it's difficult for me to do that with people. So, if you'd like, I can give you something to read about it if you want more, and that's like kind of the direction I'd recommend trying to lead people in. And I do this in my trainings either. I have some things I've written and other plenty of reading materials ready. So like when conflictual things come up, and even my book serves this purpose a little bit, so if people want to go deeper about things to answer more questions, you want something to reference them to. And it's better to have something that is a book, something that is written to reference them to, because rather than a video for people to watch, because the way people interact with something that they read is different than how they interact with something that they listen to and view. And two, also, when trying to do this type of education with people, it's sometimes good to have like some sort of filtering mechanisms in as far as who you're delivering information to. And so someone who's a reader is there's something good about that as far as getting them to actually learn in a genuine way. So I can talk about some books, like if you do get in this situation where you have someone who's interested in learning more about Muslims and Islam, if you want me to do a video that talks about some books that you can give to them or recommend to them or send them the links to, let me know if you'd like me to do a video on that.